Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatari Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
So we'll sing one stanza from a song, Ye Anilo Premadana, which we sing when some devotee passes away.
Ye Anilo Premadana Karuna Praju 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 Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Nilo Premadana Karuna Praju Ye Anilo Premadana Karuna Praju Ye Anilo Premadana Karuna Praju Ye Anilo Premadana Karuna Praju Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku Eno Prabhu Kotagela Charyataku.
So we sang this dedicated to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, who passed away today. So thank you very much for coming to this course on Success Partnership, Devotee Success Partnership. And today we will have a shorter version because at 7:30 is Kirtan dedicated to Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Swami. Devotees will be singing in the temple room of RADHADESH temple. And so instead of having 2 hours, we will have until 7:15 or 7:20, and Kirtan starts at 7:30, so we will have shorter today. So Devotee Success Partnership is alliance of 2 devotees who are dedicated to help each other succeed in devotional service and in other areas of life that support devotional service. And they do this by using certain structure where when they meet, it's not just a spontaneous conversation, but it's a structured conversation. That means that they have a plan, how they will speak, what they will speak about, and they also prepare. They can prepare for this conversation. And therefore, this 1 hour that they spend together is used in the most optimal way, in the best possible way. And I have several structures, maybe 5 or 6 different structures, and one is not bound or limited to these structures. One can create his own structure if he wants, how he wants to have this session, but these are just examples how one can create a structure to have a conversation that will benefit both persons who are present much more than if they would just have normal spontaneous conversation. So we have from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we have different verses that have inspired me to create this system and which devotees can use. And before this, I want to mention 2 purposes out of 7 purposes of ISKCON. So when Srila Prabhupada has started ISKCON, he has written 7 purposes, or we can say 7 goals of this movement that are meant to give a clarity and that are a basis for different activities of this movement, and for devotees' own clarity, which kind of goals they can set, and basically what is the mission. So these 7 purposes, they describe the mission of ISKCON. And out of these 7 purposes, it's interesting that 2 of them, number 3 and number 6, they are talking about members of the society coming closer to each other, helping each other succeed, supporting each other. In one of these 2 purposes, it's mentioned that they are coming closer to each other and to God also, for the sake of living more simple and more natural way of life. That's one thing. And then the other purpose is speaking about understanding our position as eternal servants of God, and again in this effort helping each other. So now this system that I designed is in line with these 2 purposes, and it's helping devotees to get closer to each other and to help each other succeed. And there is references in the Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, verses that actually have inspired me to create this. And one of these verses in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which mentions the word Asharyavat. Asharyavat means amazing. So this is verse 229. It's in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And this verse says that soul is amazing. Every soul is amazing. And we know that the soul is a part of God, and because God is amazing, so his parts are also amazing, but the difference is that he is unlimited and we are small, we are limited. We possess some of his qualities. And if we see anybody that is attractive in this world, it is because they possess some of the qualities of God. Divine qualities, we would say. So this verse helped me to see people with different eyes, to see people as entities or beings who are full of potential. If somebody is amazing, that means this person has a lot of potential, they have a lot of talent. And I started seeing devotees and also other people not through the eyes of their present behavior, but through the eyes of their potential, as souls. And it is said also, Satchitananda means everyone is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss originally. So this counts for every soul. So this helped me to see everyone in a more positive way and to also it made it easier for me to help devotees and other people, to help them to develop themselves and to also use that potential, to release that potential. So this is one of the verses, and then there is another verse, Mat Shita Madgata Prana Bodayantas Parasparam Katayantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Krishna says in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 9, in one of the 4 main verses of the Bhagavad Gita, so this 9th verse of the 10th chapter is one of the 4 main verses of the Bhagavad Gita, 4 key verses. He says that my devotees, they always serve me, they always worship me, and they find great pleasure in talking about me, conversing about me, and always enlightening each other. So this verse describes this mutual influence, so to say. And this is exactly what we are trying to do in the devotee success partnership, to have mutual positive influence, support and help. Then there is a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam which says that self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, so they have their own light, cannot be reached by those people who are not compassionate toward other living entities. So our own behavior and our own qualities are directly related to our own liberation in the spiritual sense and are returning back to the spiritual world. Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. So spiritual world is without anxiety, there is no death, there is no old age, there is no disease. And so these miseries that are present in the material world are absent in the spiritual world. And this world cannot be attained by those who are not compassionate toward others. So therefore, all the devotees are encouraged to be compassionate to people and to be patient with them and tolerant and to try to give them the greatest gift, and that is Krishna consciousness. Then there is a prayer in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam where a great devotee of Krishna or of Lord Nrsingadev, Prahlad Maharaj, is praying. Now Lord Nrsingadev is incarnation of Krishna who has appeared as a half man, half lion, and he has appeared to protect Prahlad from his demoniac father, and Lord Nrsingadev has killed his father to save Prahlad Maharaj because his father wanted to kill his son because he is a devotee. So Prahlad Maharaj prays in the 5th canto, there is this prayer that may all envious people become pacified and may all devotees support each other and help each other and think of each other's welfare because they are engaged in devotional service. So this, when I read this line, it really, really inspired me. And it's also related to the 2 purposes of ISKCON. Haribol.
That's it?
You two are a lot. And your wife has left recording. Yes. So please, you are welcome to come. I think also because Maharaj passed away, so devotees, they will go for the kirtan.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming. So it says, thinking of each other's welfare. Prahlad Maharaj says, they will be thinking of each other's welfare and they are engaged in one occupation, the same occupation, and that is devotional service. So this is what we are trying to encourage devotees who are engaged in devotional service, that they think of each other's welfare and that they help each other succeed. And of course, this whole course about devotee success partnership is created to facilitate that. Then there is an example of Daksha and Prithu Maharaj who actually had a conflict because Indra has stolen a horse from the sacrifice, and this has obstructed the sacrifice, and there was a conflict, there was a clash or disagreement between two of them. But then what happened is that they gave up envy, forgave each other, embraced each other, and sorted out their relationship. So this is also in mutual relationships is very important to be able to resolve conflicts and to know how to do it in a way that will work. We can say sometimes professional way or scientific way. I want to say in the way that will bring a good result. So these are some Shastric example. There is more verses which we usually quote when we have a longer time, but today we will go shorter, as I said. So now this relationship is very, very inspiring, and I'm not speaking just a theory. I have been practicing this for several months now, a success partnership with other devotees. And why I have started this, one of the reasons is that I have been traveling for the past 10 years around Europe mainly, but I also traveled to other continents. But I was trying to inspire devotees in our centers to develop devotee care systems. And it's not so easy to find devotees who want to be counselors, who want to be mentors, who want to be coaches. Everyone is so busy. Some are maybe not inclined. So I have seen there is a lack of people who could do active devotee care, like through mentorship, for example, or counselor system. There are some devotees who are life coaches, but they usually work as professionals and they're not always available, and sometimes they charge maybe the fee that no one can afford. So therefore I thought, okay, if we don't have people who step forward to help other devotees in this caregiving relationship, then maybe we can gather two devotees who are not, they don't have to be necessarily senior. One doesn't have to be senior. They don't have to have all these requirements as a mentor. Even they don't have to have like a big training and like seminars behind them or courses or workshops, but they can still help each other. And the main qualification is sincere desire to help each other. And then the next qualification is to take time at least once a week, at least 1 hour to meet together. And I prepared, as I mentioned at the beginning, structures that they can use, and they don't have to have huge experience, huge knowledge, and huge education in order to do that. They just need to have a sincere desire, and they need to have interest in the other devotee, to be interested. Okay, what is his life about? What is he going through? How can I help him or her in his or her life? And I want to be interested in supporting them. And so when you meet in this session, then half session you play the role of a helper or a coach or a counselor or a mentor, and half a session you play the role of a client or a student. And this is the whole approach, the whole attitude is that you want to help other devotees succeed. So you already see them in a positive way, you see them in a friendly way, you already know something about them, you know about their abilities, about their talents, and you're just inspired to listen to them, to listen to about their goals, to listen about their challenges, to see how Krishna or God is helping them or how he is challenging them, how he is testing them. This is something that you will hear in this conversation. You will hear that Krishna is helping them in a certain way, and you will hear that Krishna is testing them or challenging them in a certain way. So for you, this conversation is never boring because you know what you are looking for. You are looking for understanding their connection with God and how they can advance in their relationship with God. So when you have a certain structure, then you can use that structure to work with their goals and work with their obstacles that they might have in achieving those goals. So before I continue, do you have any questions about whatever I have said so far?
You said you don't need much knowledge. I mean, you were mentioning how there's coaches who have a lot of experience and knowledge, and here you don't need that because it seems to be that you could help somebody much more efficiently with some knowledge about counseling or active listening or things like that, you know. Do you need that or not? I mean, need, or would that be helpful? Or
Yeah, it would be helpful if you have some training and some skills and some experience. But if you do not have, this doesn't disqualify you to use this system, because by using this system again and again, you develop experience, you develop better listening skills, you can learn how to ask better questions to help your friend or a partner, success partner, think better. And this attention that you give when you are listening, you can always improve just by wanting to understand what they are going through, what are their goals, being interested. Your whole attitude is that you are interested. You want to be interested. You're trying your best to be interested in their life and what they're facing in their life. And you are there for them. This is their time. They have half an hour or 1 hour to speak, and you will listen to them. They will think aloud. So this brings us to 3 roles of a success partner or devotee success partner. One is that he's a thinking partner. He helps you to think by listening attentively and by asking you some questions. Then another is constant attitude of encouragement and support. This is, sees you in a positive way and always want to support you and encourage you, your success partner. And the third is accountability. Now this is something that is interesting and that is not so frequent. So accountability means that if you work on a goal, then you commit to send reports, regular reports to your success partner, and therefore there is somebody else who is monitoring your progress. And in this way you feel more focused, you feel more responsible for what you have promised to do, and in this way your success partner is helping you to work more seriously on your goals. And of course also your success partner will send you reports about his or her goals also. So this is a mutual accountability, a mutual feeling of responsibility, and it has to do with the goals that you set. So these are three main roles, and of course there is some other things that you do if you use different structures, because some structures have to do with the scriptures, some structures have to do with learning certain things, and some structures are very simple. They are just dealing with your daily goals, for example. And I will explain more about that. So is that okay? Any other question?
I missed the first part of the,
First part was introduction. Yeah, I can briefly repeat something.
I mean, I have a question. I don't know if you mentioned that before, but
yes,
I mean, as far as I understand, you work in pairs. Your system works in pairs.
yes.
Why not in a larger group of 3 or 4, kind of a team work? Is there some specific thing about pairs?
This is a confidential conversation, and this is specifically targeted for pairs because it's a confidential conversation and you need one person to listen to you very carefully. And I haven't taught yet about this because I just created this with the pairs. I haven't thought about how I would do it in the group, in a group. But if I have a group, I usually ask people to break down into pairs and work in pairs. So I introduce them to the system, and then they go to different corners and they work in pairs. And next Saturday, I believe more devotees will come, so we will practice this. And I have done this course in Köln, in Cologne, and in Goloka Dham. And devotees were practicing in pairs, and I had sometimes 6 pairs, sometimes 4 pairs. And they have found it very helpful. They have come up with amazing ideas by having this, a partner, somebody who is listening to them, who is interested in them. And this, this requires practice. I'm doing this with some devotees for a few months already, several months, and we are doing it online, sometimes face to face. And the more we do it, the more we see the benefit that we get from this, this thinking. And I have improved my sadhana since I am reporting to my success partner. Because when you report, you feel bad to give bad report. So, so you want to give a good report, and you don't want to lie. And so it helps our focus. It helps my focus. Yeah, I believe that you can do it also in groups, but it's specifically, at least for now, it's specifically targeted or, how you say, designed for working in pairs. So now, there are 2 things that, I mentioned these 3-4 roles, 3 roles, but another role can be also, you could give some suggestions or some ideas also. This is like a 4th role, but usually I don't recommend this because one of the great benefits of this approach is that the devotee who is acting as a client is actually training himself or herself to think for themselves and to use their intelligence much better. And this thinking is stimulated by attentive listening from the success partner and by their questions. They ask excellent questions, and this stimulates their creative thinking and their better quality thinking. In the professional world, this is called peer coaching. But peer means equal, and in this system that I have created, you don't have to be equal in any way. Somebody can be senior, somebody can have more experience, somebody can have less experience. You don't have to be equal. But peers are usually, peer means one who is of same age or of the same whatever qualification. So, but this peer coaching approach also inspired me to create this because they basically do the same thing. They are switching the roles. First one is a coach, and then he is a client. Yes? Anything else? Yeah. It's a wonderful thing, and Srila Prabhupada wanted us to cooperate, so this can help cooperation, people can cooperate. And also, there is, there is this part where you are helping the person to think and to set some goals and to work on goals. But at the end also there is appreciation, mutual appreciation. So you appreciate something about your client and he appreciates something about you. Because this appreciation, experts say, stimulates better thinking also. And builds the relationship, builds the trust in the relationship. Because we see that other people appreciate our efforts, so it's encouraging. This is part of the encouragement also, this appreciation. Sometimes you can appreciate later if you remember something. You can send an email or you can send a text message or WhatsApp or something, Facebook Messenger. But you can also appreciate right after the session. And in this way, it's a very positive relationship, very supportive. And I think that this can actually, the success partner can cover, I think, about 80% of the work of the mentor. You know, you have listening there, you have asking questions, you have someone who believes in you, you have someone who is positive about you. Maybe this other person doesn't have as much experience as someone senior who would be a mentor, but they still have some life experience, and if they need to share, they can share with you. And in this way, when you are sharing, you are also learning from each other, And of course, good teachers, they learn from their students. They can learn from their students. They are open. We were trying to create mentoring systems. You have 5 mentors in the temple, or 6 mentors, or 10 mentors, and then they have groups, and then these groups grow, so they cannot take care of everyone properly, so they try to create some new mentors, but sometimes it doesn't work. Some people stop being mentors, they are busy with something else. But with this approach, you can have unlimited devotee success partnerships in pairs, as much as you can. And if you can have more than one. So for example, if someone doesn't have more time to meet you, or something happens to them, or they move away, or whatever, then you can still continue your success partnership with other devotees that you have started, or you can start a new success partnership with someone that you haven't worked with yet. So it's a very flexible system, very practical system, and I will try to teach about this more and more, at least in Europe, but I will also speak online about it, so that from other continents people will also be able to learn and understand it. And though I have communication with many devotees, so I'm sending them this Devotee Success Partnership Guide, which is a short file, it's a short text, not just a few pages, which describes this system and describes these different structures. And I mean, until now in this seminar, I have been explaining what is in this guide, this Success Partnership Guide, Devotee Success Partnership Guide. And what we will do in this, our second part, I will explain different structures, how this is done. And of course, if we would have a full seminar, then we would have also exercises. And even now, what time is it now? Do you know?
So it's 10 to 7.
10 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go for another 20 minutes or half an hour, 10 to 7, 25 minutes, then we can go to the temple. So we can, even if I explain to you some structures, then we can still maybe have one little demonstration. Maybe you and I can have a session and you can watch and observe how we are doing it, so that we have at least a little bit of practice. And so I have created several structures, and I will share a few of them with you. And if I send you, I will send you this guide, this short Devotee Success Partnership Guide, where you will read about all these other structures. These structures are not complicated, they are simple. So for example, one way to do this and to work on a certain goal or on a certain issue or problem that you face is that you first want to understand what Srila Prabhupada said about it. So you can look in the database, you can look in the Bhagavad Gita, you can look in the Vanipedia, you can look in the index of books also and find this topic. Let's say you want to work on managing anger, for example. And then you look over this in all these resources that I mentioned, and then you are looking for the quotes that you think will help you. So there are certain quotes that will help you to control your anger, that will help you to overcome anger, to understand what is the source of anger. And you study and you purify yourself by studying about this specific issue or this specific topic. And then, so now this is done before the session. So therefore there should be some communication before the session in this approach. So before the session, you get some quotes and bring them to the session, and then you can discuss them with your success partner. And you can discuss ideas how you can apply it. And from this, you can set the goal that next week I'm going to work on controlling my anger much better, and I will report to you. I will report to you. I have one system which is not from the Shastra, but it's regarding anger, just specifically in relation to anger. On in relation to any negative behavior, you can use it, that if you catch yourself that you are demonstrating or exhibiting this negative behavior, like demonstrating anger, you can give 50 euros to the temple, or 100 euros, even better. And in this way you will think very carefully next time, because getting angry will cost you a lot. But you can take it as a goal. I took it myself. My wife, she was challenging me once. She said, "Oh, you are Mr. Positive, but why you're so negative now?" There was some conflict. And I said, "Okay, next time I get angry, I will give you 10 pounds. At that time, 10 pounds was more than now. It was in England. And she said, "Okay." And so I only once I failed and I paid after that. But it worked. I mean, I was much more careful how I behave, because I knew that it would cost me. Although this is not recommended, sometimes these kind of ideas are also acceptable in the success partnership, because it will help the devotee to control his anger. I mean, it's a double benefit. First of all, they learn that it will cost them if they don't control their anger. And second of all, the temple can benefit, and the temple can feed people and can help the worship of Krishna, and like this. So you can be creative and innovative in working on goals, but if you want to look at the Shastra, you can understand the source of anger, you can understand how other devotees have controlled their anger, how they have engaged their anger. For example, Hanuman has engaged his anger in serving Lord Ramachandra, and this was a proper utilization of anger, and by this he got purified. So looking at the scriptures and finding quotes, finding ideas, finding solutions, and then applying them, and then reporting. Apply and report. What have you done, and how it is going for you, what are the obstacles for you, and I'm here to support you, I'm here to listen to your report, and I'm here to discuss your report with you. This is one way. When we are using Bhagavad Gita or other scriptures, then you can have japa partnership about chanting or about mantra meditation. So you can exchange inspirational quotes, you can report to each other when you have finished your rounds. Have you chanted all rounds in one go? What are your difficulties in chanting? Do you think you are connecting with Krishna when you are chanting? So you can discuss these kind of questions, and we call it a japa partnership. Then there is an approach called feed forward. So instead of focusing on what you have done wrong in the past, I can give you suggestions what I think you could do better in the future. So if you ask me, for example, how can I improve my japa? Give me 2 suggestions, and I can give you 2 suggestions. One is get up early, and second is chant 16 rounds in one go without interruption, without looking at the phone, without any kind of disruption or interruption. And you say thank you, and then you say, okay, I will choose one of these or both of them, and I will report to you at our next meeting next week. And similarly from your side, I mean, you also give me suggestions, and I work on something that I wanted to work on. by using your good suggestions. So this is called feed forward. Instead of feedback, this is feed forward, focusing on what one can do better in the future. Then another structure is daily questions. So daily questions means that you create questions that cover the most important areas of your life. What does that mean? Well, you choose your daily goals and create questions in relation to those goals. For example, have I chanted attentive 16 rounds today? Actually, you're even better than this question is, did I do my best to chant 16 attentive rounds today? And so you give me your questions. This is your question. You created it, but you give it to me to ask you this question as a coach. So I ask you your own questions so that you can think and you can answer. So, did you do your best to chant your attentive 16 rounds today? And you say yes or no. And if it's no, then you explain why. If you say yes, you can say something in relation to yes. Did you do your best to be kind to your family today, for example? Then you can remember, yes, I was, but sometimes my wife maybe irritate me a little bit and I lose my temper a little bit, but I'm much better than before because now I'm working on this more consciously. Did you do your best to exercise today, to walk in nature or to exercise? Yes or no? So you can create, I don't know, between 5 and 10 questions, and your coach, your success partner is asking you these questions, and you can discuss it with them. You can think aloud why you have done this, why you have not done this, and in this way you can have a very, very focused discussion around your daily goals. So this is called daily questions, and this is a very, very powerful, very simple but very powerful process of self-discipline, attaining self-discipline. There is more structures, but I will not cover them all now. And now I want to ask you, do you have any questions in relation to what I said so far? Is there anything that is maybe not clear that I can clarify? Okay, so can we do a little demonstration now? You and I?
I hope so.
You can choose a structure out of those that I mentioned that you want me to use in coaching you, in assisting you as a success partner, and I can also choose, so half session, I think we will do 5 minutes each. Half session you will be a coach, half session I will be a coach, so you can come here and so that you can sit like this. We are like on the stage, but I need to put the phone here so that it will record. Okay, so if you remember some of these structures, would you like to choose a structure by which you want me to assist you?
But I like these daily questions because you can, improve on several areas and do it constantly practice it all the time and try to improve.
So you need to give me your questions. Sometimes it is given in writing, but now we don't have time to write. You can just tell me questions that you want me to ask you, or one by one. You can tell me one question, I ask you this question, and then you think about it and you say something about it. So which questions would be important for you, for your daily goals?
Well, you mentioned one question, have I been nice to my family today? So
Okay.
I like that one.
Okay, so let's first do this question. So, Gatikari Prabhu, have you been nice to your family today?
Well, we are recording, you know, I'm not sure if I should answer honestly. I tried my best to be nice.
Mhm.
Haven't been very nasty today though, so that's already something.
You say you have been better than before, or
I mean, sometimes I'm sorry for the way I behave, you know. Sometimes, as you say, you mentioned also, have I managed my anger, you know. For example, sometimes I could better manage my anger, for example. I'll be more patient with family, with children, teenagers, etc. Maybe spend more time with them. Like that.
do you want to go to the next question, or you want to speak more about this?
Do you have any suggestions how I could perhaps improve in that?
Well, this is a great question, but before I give you any suggestions, I would like to ask you, what are your ideas for improving your relationship with your family or your behavior?
Well, since I'm aware that sometimes I should manage anger better, so I should work on that, for example, by, just if I feel that I'm getting angry, I could, I'll just say to myself, calm down and think about it and respond in a cool way, you know, for example. So not directly, bring out the anger, but actually at least wait a little bit and try to calm down, and then
Create a pause.
a pause, for example, and then try to formulate a good response to that situation, for example, something that.
So what would be satisfying response? When would you be satisfied with yourself? What kind of response you would manifest that you would say, now I have done actually what I wanted, how I wanted to react?
Well, something that it would be taken positively by a person to whom I'm directing my answer, which instead of angry.
So it's judged by them.
Not positively, but it could be instructional, but in a positive way. That they wouldn't feel attacked, or they wouldn't, or but because always the reason for my anger, let's say I don't like what they're doing, and I would prefer it and do something else or a different way, or so to present the solution in a way that they could accept it, more in goodness than in ignorance, like in an angry mood, for example.
Very nice. What else could you do to make this happen?
Well, it could be good to learn some techniques. There must exist some techniques how to do that. How to present, how to properly reply to a problem.
And where you could get this?
From Akrura Prabhu.
Who's that? Well, there are so many resources. I mean, I will also can give you something. Right. So now, let's say we are going towards the end of our session, and then usually I would ask you, would you like to set something as a specific goal for the next week in relation to this that you were discussing, that you were speaking about?
Yes, I can try to not become. I mean, if I see that I'm becoming angry, I should try to calm down and respond in a normal way, a nice way.
Okay, so what would be different next time you are challenged or you are triggered? What would be different than what you have been doing until now?
Well, I was aware of that, but I wasn't always successful in managing my anger. So I could try to make a pledge that I will give donation to the temple or something.
Okay, that's very concrete. This is very concrete. Okay, so that's one thing you can do, and another, I mean, if you read something about it, if you somehow prepare, or maybe like put something like a ring to remind you, or some do something to remind you of your goal that you want to react better. So you have to think what this could be, but this shows that you are serious about your goal, like pledge that you mentioned, or if you have some reminder or something, and then when it starts coming, you say, okay, I know now this is what I decided to do. Okay. Okay, so this is how one part of the session would look like, and then now in this part of the session you play the role of a success partner as a coach, and the structure that I want to choose is actually one structure I didn't mention is that you can choose a verse from the Gita or from other scriptures that you want to apply the next week. So this I would like you to coach me on, to ask me which verse I want to work on, why, and maybe I will ask you for some suggestions to help me to work on this. So.
You already asked yourself questions.
No, you have to ask me. You have to practice.
Well, so which verse would you like to work on applying in your life next week?
This is a verse coaching. Well, probably, not probably, my favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita is 17:15. Austerity of speech. Anudvega karam vakyam. Speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and always reciting the Vedic literature. So I would like to recite the Vedic literature more, and I usually do this live with a live broadcast. So there is a double benefit. Some people are listening. This also remains as a recording on Facebook, but I'm also reading, for example, Gita Mahatmya, which is glorification of the Gita, each chapter of the Gita. So last week, somehow I haven't done it, and I want to do it next week. And then not only speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others or myself, but also thinking, having internal dialogue that is the same as these instructions. And I usually don't have negative inner dialogue, but sometimes something maybe disturbs me, or something usually when it has to do with emotions. So to manage my emotions better, and to especially when I get a little bit disturbed, then to use this verse, to check, am I thinking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to myself? So these 4 points. So I would like to become more aware and sometimes observe my own thinking and also feelings, and be able to choose what I think, choose how I feel, and of course choose what I desire. And this verse is very inspiring to me. I could talk about this verse for hours and for days, and I always recommend it to others, and because so many people have problem with inner dialogue. They have this negative inner dialogue, and it makes them depressed. One of the main actually causes of depression is negative inner dialogue, but people are not aware of this. They're not aware. So I want to practice this and get better at this. I mean, I'm already practicing this a lot, but I can do it more consciously, more frequently, and I can teach it more, because when I teach it, I remember it, and I am obliged to practice it. And yeah, this verse is so amazing. Krishna says this is one of the three aspects of the austerity in the mode of goodness. There is austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of the speech. So this austerity of the speech is, of course, austerity of the mind is also good for me, to practice satisfaction, simplicity, and other things. So, yeah, the way I want to choose what I think, because sometimes the thoughts just come to the mind, and sometimes these thoughts are disturbing, negative, or sinful, or whatever. So I want to be able to calmly observe this, and then say, no, I want to think like Bhagavad Gita recommends. And then next week I can report to you about my efforts during the next week. I will keep track of it, I will measure it, I think what I can do at the end of the day, I can think, okay, how I was doing on this verse today, did I have any, I would say, fails, and what were my successes, and make short notes. Even maybe, this is one option, you can report, when you start with your goal, you can report every single day to your success partners. It's a short, just one sentence, your success partner. You can send very short, you don't have to take much of their time, only 2 seconds or something. But for you it's good to send someone a report how you are doing that on that particular day. So, this is like an example that I could send you every single day my own assessment of how I was doing on my goal in relation to that verse. And do you have any suggestions how I could work on this goal and overcome potential obstacles? Thank you for listening. It helped me to think very responsibly about my goal.
So I'll just listen and you find a solution. Maybe you have some suggestions.
No, I already gave a lot of my own plan. I have a very clear plan. But if you have anything else that I haven't said and you think that it will help me, you can share. You see, I
have one question which comes
that's also
to
good,
mind.
yes.
Yeah. Do you find it sometimes challenging to say or to think something that is truthful, but it has to be pleasing to, sometimes truth is not pleasing to another person.
Okay. That's a good point.
It's
good point. Sometimes truth hurts, for example.
right. So what means pleasing to another, and to what degree this has? What's more important? Truth, pleasing. Or we have to always find some compromise and try the best to present the truth in the most pleasing way possible. I guess that could be a solution, but it's not that necessarily it would be always pleasing, right?
Very good point. Well, sometimes I would like to speak, even though it's unpleasant, to speak the truth, but in a, I would say, a careful way or considerate way. Pleasing doesn't mean speaking sweet lies. Pleasing doesn't mean that, but pleasing means, I think pleasing should be, you speak with respect, with very carefully speak. And sometimes you have to say things that are not easy for people to hear, because you have to confront them with something, maybe they are doing something wrong. But if you do it in a respectful way, with a friendly attitude, then I think it will be easier for them to accept them. And it will be beneficial. The next point was beneficial, so it will be beneficial. But sometimes it takes time for people to digest what you tell them if it's not easy to hear. But if they see your attitude, which is attitude of encouragement, attitude of support, attitude of general appreciation for them, then I think they will be more open to accept it. Yeah, truth sometimes is not easy to hear, but we still have to, in some situations, we have to say it. It's even our duty sometimes to say things. And like Krishna told Arjuna, you are speaking learned words, but actually what you are saying is not very intelligent. Is not very intelligent. So he told him in a nice way, and then slowly Arjuna understood where his thinking is wrong, and he accepted the truth from Krishna, slowly and gradually. And Krishna spoke in a pleasing way, I think.
Another question comes to mind when, if you say you don't want to have a negative inner dialogue,
Yeah.
so that means that you always try to, for example, see positive in another person, right? So how is that true that the other person, I mean, so how much should we judge what is true and what is not true? I mean,
actually we discriminate based on the scriptures, what is right and what is wrong, what is true, what is not true. We discriminate based on the knowledge from the scriptures and from Sadhu, Shastra and Guru. This is how we discriminate. But
so if you see some defects, how can you have a positive inner dialogue then? I mean, if you
well, you notice it, but you don't allow your mind to now continue on and on criticizing, but you see if you can do something about it, or if you can speak to them, if you see something negative in their thinking, in their speaking, in their action. So you don't, you try to help, you don't try to judge. Help more, judge less. That's an important principle to follow. Sometimes devotees tell me, oh, I have done this, I have done that, sorry, I don't want to disappoint you. And I say, I'm not here to judge you, I'm here to help you. So let's see what can be done.
Okay.
They say, oh, you want to stop working with me because I'm so bad. I said, no, I'm just here to help you, I'm not here to judge you. Something like that. You see, your question, you have questions, and your questions help me to think about different aspects of my goal, and then when I face situations, it will help me. When I face situations, I remember that my success partner asked me this question, and I was thinking, I was even writing about it later, and now I'm ready to face this new challenge that has to do with that question, so it's helpful like this. Okay? Okay, so thank you very much. Do you have any final questions or comments, both of you? I'm very grateful to you to come here, and sometimes it's even better when there is less people, because it's more peaceful and you can work like this, I mean, like we did today. So, and we were also live, people who were listening online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that before?
Oh, really?
I thought you were just recording.
Yes, but everything was nice. Our recording is here of your wife, of the phone.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to stop it, if you want to stop it.
Okay.
Yeah. She said she will come at 7:30, I think.
Yeah, but then she told me, so I can take it.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. And then next Saturday we will do this session. We will have maybe more exercises with devotees. I will give some introduction also for other devotees if they come. But we can have more practice next. We will have 2 full hours. So if two of you can come, you're welcome. Otherwise, I will work with others. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And thank you everyone on the internet for listening. I will now stop the broadcast and the recording. And I wish you a wonderful evening and Hare Krishna.